In the pilot episode of this series, I set a goal to learn hiragana and katakana in just 31 days. That and only that without learning any vocabulary so that I could learn vocabulary in kana and, in theory, make a stronger mental connection to the language. Boy, was I wrong. I did not make that 31-day goal. We're going to talk about what worked, what didn't work, and why. Hi. My name is Jonathan, and this is my outlet where I learn new skills. I publish either standalone videos over whatever the dopamine latches onto that day, or as an installment within a series of what I've learned so far format style of videos. If this type of content interests you at all, please consider leaving the video a like and, of course, subscribing. I'd love to be at 100 subscribers by the end of the year, and you could be a part of that. Ways to support the channel can be found in the video's description as well. Now, let's get back to this video. So I'm sitting here trying to edit this video, and I hear all of that construction sound in the background. Unfortunately, that's not something I can get all the way out. They do go on lunch about halfway through the video, so it will stop. But yeah, I'm sorry. All right. Before we get into what didn't work, I want to call myself on a few things here because, you know, accountability, integrity, and stuff like that. But I travel a lot for work. I'm gone like 3 to 5 days a week, pretty consistently. And there are many nights when I get done working and I get to a hotel, like I'm traveling, like gone from home, where it's like a choice of, do I want to eat or sleep? And then, because I got a short overnight, get up, go back to work, kind of long day again. And so a lot of times I didn't prioritize any Japanese study whatsoever. And it was just kind of get to the room, chill and relax. And to an extent that's needed. But I did have some longer overnights where I did not study at all when I had plenty of opportunities to do so. So the consistency is really the biggest thing here that really caused me not to get this goal of 31 days. Because whenever you're studying it, you're doing it, you're getting into it, you really pick up a momentum and you can go quick, but you'll lose it pretty quickly, which is another problem because I would go 3 to 5 days sometimes without any studying whatsoever. When I would sit down to study it again, it was like, what is that again? And it was rough. It was pretty rough. So that's on me. That's 100% on me. One of the biggest things that held me up is I only tried to study kana. I didn't make any meaningful connections to anything because I was so narrowly focused. And by having vocabulary mixed in, I found too late in the game that was making really everything click because I was adding kind of substance to the context and it just started to make more. It felt more tangible, if that makes sense. And I also didn't want to learn with Romaji because in my mind, I didn't want to create a crutch that I would lean on and default to in the past whenever it started getting harder. And that's really where this strict approach, this really unnecessarily strict approach, was quite honestly very detrimental this early on. And Romaji is the bridge between the English language and the Latin alphabet. And there's a reason it exists, and I completely discredited the powerful tool that it brought to the table when I wanted to learn Japanese in Japanese. Logically, it made sense to me because, like, hey, a child grows up in Japan learning Japanese in Japanese. That made sense. But my native language is English, not Japanese. I don't know why I thought that, but perhaps I'm not the only one. Please let me know in the comments. But which now that I'm saying these words out loud does sound even more ridiculous, but I can see where my logic was in the beginning. I guess a better way to reframe that logic in a more logical sense is children learn to speak words far before they learn to write them. Think about it. I mean, toddlers through pre-K, you know, they're learning words far before they go and start learning to write their ABCs. And that's really where my logic was flawed. I was trying to do it the other way around, and obviously that's not going to be conducive to a good time, and it was not. It honestly felt more like I was trying to speed run a tutorial, like without really focusing on what all the nitty gritty was, because I wanted to move on to like the actual aspects of the game, so to speak. And that was also a huge mental flaw. So slow down, take your time, but don't be so rigid. Now let's move on to what did work. When it comes to what did work, honestly, this is quite a cop-out answer, and it's very simple here, but when I was consistently studying, like daily, not just like, oh, okay, I have 20 minutes or an hour today, I'm going to study, and then I'm going to go like 5 days without doing it, that doesn't work. When I was consistently studying daily, the information stuck. And what really made it click is the old school pen and paper. When I would write down the pen strokes. Like there's a proper way to do the pen strokes and everything for each kana. And I'm gonna start doing a video series on that here coming up as well. We're just gonna go through everything, take it nice and slow, bite-sized pieces, so it's not just too much being thrown at you at one time. And hopefully I can learn better by teaching. So not to get off topic here, but I used to be a flight instructor, and I learned that being able to teach the material in multiple different ways made me understand the material at a deeper level. And that's kind of what I'm hoping this channel allows me to do, for example. But I digress. The proper pen strokes of each kana, I would write those down as I said the words out loud repeatedly. It got very monotonous at times, but it formed an insanely strong mental connection to the character and the sound, allowing me to more quickly recall the character when I would see it in other places. And we're going to get to the other places here in a moment. And that's where really vocabulary is crucial. Both reading and listening for the characters helps solidify this connection even further as well. And unfortunately, I arbitrarily stonewalled myself from this so early on. And by the time I realized the error of my ways, it was pretty much time's up on the 31-day goal. But so study vocabulary, even if it's using Romaji at first. Once you learn a word like autumn, for example, which is Aki, when you learn the characters for A and Ki sounds, the dopamine hit when you realize, oh, I know this, really drives you further, and it provides more context to the character than just a random sound symbol combination. That's really where this immersion stuff, every other video about learning Japanese on YouTube talks about, but they never really explain. I'll do my best to explain how I'm doing it and how it's working for me. I said in the first video, I really wasn't into anime, and that's true to an extent. I love the grittier stories about war and conflict, not so much the overly sexualized or fantasy stuff that's predominantly out there in its own little niches. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments section below. So when I was growing up, I did go home from school and watch the Kanto League and Johto League of Pokemon. After that, I didn't really follow Pokemon that much. My son's getting into it now, and it's insane how far down the rabbit hole everything has gone. But nonetheless, I loved Gundam Wing. And I would watch it almost religiously. If I had to pick one or the other, it was usually always Gundam Wing. And so here recently, I downloaded the Crunchyroll app and started watching the episodes in Japanese. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, they don't have Japanese subtitles. Come on, Crunchyroll, please. But it's great because I still remember the broader story. And now with it being purely in Japanese, I still have a little bit of context of what's going on, even though I'm not quite understanding the words yet. The real game changers is when you are learning the kana characters and watch the episode with something in Japanese with Japanese subtitles so that you can start listening for each one of those kana sounds as well as looking for them in the subtitles below. And again, the mental recognition and the subsequent dopamine hit drives you forward in a way that feels more kind of tangible, like you're learning means something. It feels more attainable despite how hard it may feel at times. And you don't have to use anime. It can be really any form of media in Japanese. But again, try using something that has Japanese subtitles because that's really where the kana recognition hits first. It's a great confidence booster even if you are just reading a singular kana without the overarching context, but this builds upon itself over time. And as you progress, you'll start being able to make those vocabulary connections to the subtitles in the same way. And that's where I really started getting excited and the momentum really started to pick up. But I wasn't consistent, and that was the crux of all of it. And a way to kind of reframe this self-critique is I now know what worked and I can leverage that knowledge. Like I said in the beginning, I rushed it. I tried to speed run it. And I think the best course of action is just start over and not try to reinvent the wheel here. There are proven ways to learn Japanese, and I need to trust the process and learn in ways that still give me a lot of flexibility, but it also mixes things up a bit to keep it from feeling so kind of legalistic and monotonous at times. And not that I'm an expert at this in any means, but if you are going to start doing this brand new and you're coming at this completely fresh, I do have a couple of words of advice. And again, this is just from someone who's tried to do this for a month. This is fun, but it's also something that you can drive yourself mad trying to do and put yourself off entirely of if you don't pace yourself. There's a lot to this, and that's where I want to drive home possibly the biggest point of this entire video. You need to curb your expectations. I had all the naive aspirations I'm sure most of us on this journey have had, and you have yourself. And I let myself down, even though it was all self imposed. I had no one to prove this to other than myself. And I mean, I put it on the internet, I guess, but you take that as you will. But take the victories where you can, build yourself up with those. Don't let the hard days of studying where things just aren't clicking, and don't let that be what defines the entire process. You can do it. My advice and methods may not work for you though. Being honest with yourself and understanding what you need and to be successful is the most important part of all of this. So be flexible. Don't be as rigid as I was. Cut yourself some slack. This is hard. The only way you fail to learn Japanese is when you no longer try. And I think in a way we're all going to fail our first couple of tries to go through it. It's just all about readjusting our course and pressing on. And that's kind of what is going to bring us to the conclusion of this video. Going forward, I'm going to start making more videos about every step of this journey. The next few installments, I'll make videos covering the pen stroke order and sounds of hiragana and katakana, along with some useful vocabulary mixed in as well. After that, I'll start adding in kanji videos in a similar fashion. But I'll take it nice and slow so it's easy to digest for all of us and we all get something out of it. But if that sounds like something that interests you, please, again, consider subscribing. I want this number to be up around 100 by the end of the year. You could be a part of that. Also, leave the video a like if this is something that you would be interested in. Also, if you are subscribing for the Japanese content, I am going to be posting other content of other skills that I'm learning. So if you want just this, I'm going to have a dedicated playlist with all of the Japanese stuff in there as well. So if you need to find it, you can go right to it and kind of bypass all the other noise that you're not here for. So, but anyways, if you do want notifications, make sure you enable that notification bell. This is probably the worst outro ever, so I'm going to drop it at that. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. Once you learn a word like blue, for example, which is aki. No, aki's autumn. Aki's autumn. Ao is blue. Ue is top. What is Aki? Autumn. We'll go with that one. Wow. Okay, I had a moment. These dudes are punctual, man. They go to lunch at 11 a.m. and they start back at noon. It is 12:10 and they've already driven their tractor back from where they stage them back to right outside my window. So, all right, they run a tight ship.